up, everybody? I'm thinking again, and today I'm thinking about Deus Ex Machina. Deus Ex Machina is a phrase and literary device that gets tossed around a lot as something horrible and never to be used. However, a lot of people seem to misunderstand what this deplorable device is really all about, because when you get right down to it, it isn't always necessarily bad. First off, I want to preface this by saying that I am not a religious person. If anything, I consider myself agnostic, but I absolutely acknowledge both the power and value of religion and faith in our society, particularly to those who practice it. Alright then, let's get to it. Deus Ex Machina is a Latin phrase that translates to God from the machine and is usually used to describe something introduced into a story to change the game, so to speak. It begins as a device used in many Greek myths and plays when the conflicts and problems of the plays would literally be solved by the gods as almost a way of honoring and worshiping them. The gods were such a part of their everyday lives that they just kind of became part of their culture, and so they wrote about them. It was almost like the world's first fan fiction. In our modern world, this type of storytelling is typically seen as a bad thing and can be a synonym for a story or plot point's resolution coming out of nowhere in the story without much development or provocation. Coincidences like these that people criticize tend to rob characters and stories of both their development and their autonomy. In these situations, the character has nothing to do with what happened and thus has no impact on the situation and gains no personal growth or power from it. However, people do not seem to realize that not all coincidences in storytelling are examples of Deus Ex Machina, and they differ in some important ways. According to Google, a coincidence is a remarkable concurrence of events or circumstances without apparent causal connection. It is a situation in which the cause and effect are seemingly unrelated, if even there at all. They're things that just happen to us in our daily lives without much rhyme or reason. Coincidences can often be used to begin stories. For example, girl A meets boy B at rock show C. The boy and the girl in the situation did not orchestrate this as a meetup, but they meet up anyway and probably fall in love in the end. Other coincidences can include a plane exploding over a man's home, or aliens landing on a small city block, or a woman running into an old classmate she hasn't seen in a long time. These are all great beginnings, and the story comes out of how these characters deal with the situation they are given and the choices they make once they've happened. Coincidences become a serious problem, however, when they are used as endings or resolutions to stories or plot points within them. It is in the definition of a coincidence to be random and almost non-sequitorial, and cannot be the result of any sort of build-up in storytelling or character. When something out of the blue happens as a resolution to a plot point, that's incredibly frustrating because we as the audience did not get to see the payoff to everything that has actually been happening. For example, when a character in a TV show is killed off halfway through the season without any build-up to their death or resolution of their current storyline, I'm looking at you, lip service. That's incredibly frustrating! It might have been good to start at that point in the story and see how the people deal and where the characters go from there, but when we've been with these characters for a decent length of time already with enough build and development, to have something come out of the blue to drastically change the story, it becomes jarring and unrealistic and takes us out of the experience. Now, this is all extremely important to note because these coincidental resolutions are typically what people mean when they're complaining about Deus Ex Machina, but that's not totally really what the term means. And this is why I brought up the religion thing earlier. In actuality, it is a literary device meant to show the power of faith and belief, which are very prominent and powerful lessons to be teaching in our world. Well-done Deus Ex Machina resolutions are presented as a reward, or sometimes punishment, for a character's faith, or lack thereof, in something a little less tangible. Back in the times of the ancient Greek playwrights, the device was often used to show how faith in the gods would lead to rewards and salvation, a tradition that many religious stories follow to this day. The point is that the character's undying faith is itself a build-up to the Deus Ex Machina moment when the god or force in question swoops in to save the day. The character made the conscious decision to keep their faith and fight in its name, and were eventually rewarded for that decision, making them still very much an active participant in the resolution. It was probably most famously employed by the Athenian playwright Euripides, who is also said to have originated the device. For example, in his play Alcestis, the titular character Alcestis dies for her husband as a result of her virtue, sacrifice, and commitment to her love, and she is rescued from death by Heracles as he passes through on the way to one of his trials. While Heracles' appearance on the scene is itself a bit coincidental, there is purpose behind it, as well as his rescuing of Alcestis, in that both Heracles' mistakes and Alcestis' virtue and sacrifice motivate him to fight to save her. For a more modern example, and the thing that got me thinking about this today, there are the infamous eagles in Lord of the Rings. In a recent article on IO9, writer Gibbelins notes how intentional and built-in the eagle resolutions are to the world of Tolkien stories, link in the description. As a servant of Manwë, king of the Valar, the eagles act as a reward to those of particular strength and faith and aid those who are worthy of it. This was, in fact, the purpose of the eagles as a lesson on the rewards of virtue and faith. Examples of this happen all over our favorite fiction. In the first Harry Potter novel, Harry is eventually rewarded the Sorcerer's Stone for his faith in himself and his friends, his courage, and his commitment to being a good person. In the final book, Neville is rewarded the Sword of Gryffindor for the same reasons. In Lord of the Flies, despite many horrible things happening to them, the boys are eventually rewarded with rescue after Ralph's persistence at keeping the group in order and his hope that someone will save them. In Supernatural, Castiel Gripstein Titan raises him from perdition because the Winchesters' constant commitment to saving people from the hidden darknesses they face. Deus Ex Machina can even come in the form of punishment to those who do wrong, which is why Disney villain deaths such as Gaston, Scar, Frollo, and the Wicked Queen are all satisfying despite not being directly killed by the heroes. These events have a purpose and a message to get across. As Gibbelins puts it, they are a form of deliverance that must be earned, and yet can never be counted upon. Yes, of course, there can be times when the device is used poorly and can be more coincidental, but the point is, whether you agree with the messages or not, good Deus Ex Machina has a moral, a literary defense of the importance of faith and the commitment to goodness. So next time you call Deus Ex Machina on a work, take a second to think about it. Is it a crappy coincidence, or is it true Deus Ex Machina? Because you may soon come to find that not all gods from the machine are ill-conceived. That's all from me today. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all later. Hogwarts, nothing but Hogwarts, Harry Potter. Da-dum.